Hey there, Saints. Pastor Dave here with another weekly devotional for you this Wednesday. We are still in the season of Lent, and last week talked about the difference between disciplines and rules. How a rule is something that we follow in order to avoid being punished, but a discipline is something that we follow in order to make progress toward a goal. And in this season of Lent, disciplines are a big part of what we might be doing. So I want to continue that idea with another devotional reading from Sarah Arthur's 1 Year Daily Grind. And she talks about how we can remind ourselves of the disciplines that we've chosen. Yesterday, a friend of mine suggested we turn our plates and give up lunch today in order to concentrate on all the prayer requests that keep piling up in our church. I'd never heard that phrase, turn your plate, before, but it makes a lot of symbolic sense. When we fast, instead of piling our plates with food, we are, in essence, turning them over and placing them face down on the table. The overturned plate becomes a visible symbol of our self-denial and reminds us to pray for the requests before us. We can do this wherever we are, at school, at work, at home. Now, fasting, going without certain things such as food or TV, is a big part of Lent. In the past, I've experienced how difficult it is for me to fast from a meal when I'm home alone, how it gives me a headache, makes me crabby, causes me to generally be unproductive all day. Well, that's all still true. I'm feeling it right now. Yet it seems a little easier today than it has in the past, and I think that's because I've taken the idea of turning my plate literally. At noon, instead of merely trying to ignore that it was lunchtime like I usually do when I'm fasting, I went into the kitchen, pulled a plate out of the cupboard, and poured myself a glass of water. I sat down at the table with the empty plate in front of me. Then I prayed a prayer of thanks for my fast, before taking the plate in my hands and very deliberately turning it over. Sitting there during the lunch hour, sipping water, looking at my overturned plate, and praying through the list of prayer requests was a powerful reminder that I am, in fact, giving up food, not merely trying to ignore it. As I go through the rest of the day, my plate is still over there on the table, face down, visible from every part of our main living space. Does it stop my stomach from growling? No. Does it make the full cupboard any less tempting? No. But it visibly reminds me that I've made a decision, and somehow that helps. What other visible reminders can I put in my life to represent the decisions that I've made for God? Saints, this Lenten season, hopefully we are thinking about disciplines that might be useful for us to bring us closer to God. And maybe you have made some choices already. Maybe there's a discipline that you have decided you're going to take up for Lent, whether that's fasting or praying or reading scripture in a new way. It could be anything. This is a great question. What are the visible ways that we can engage ourselves with that discipline? For example, with Sarah, turning the plate over, leaving it face down empty on the table, is a visible reminder of her fasting. Maybe you've decided to give up coffee for Lent. I don't know. I don't drink coffee, so that's not one of mine, but maybe you've decided that that's what you got to do this season, and maybe a good way to make that visible would be to keep your empty coffee mug with you, or your empty Starbucks cup, and just put it in the cup holder in the car so that everywhere you go, you've got that empty mug. And every time you think, I'm going to go pick up a coffee, it's time for some coffee, that empty mug there reminds you, no, I've chosen not to do that. Or maybe you've decided to give up social media for this season. I've heard people say that they just need a break from all the anger and the bickering and the silliness and the wasting of time. And so maybe a good way to make that change visible would be to actually delete the app from your phone or from your tablet or wherever you usually go. And so that way when your brain is off and you're on cruise control and normally you have some downtime, you would just punch right into that and start scrolling, realizing that it's not there on the phone causes you to pause. And it's a visible reminder of the choice that you've made. Maybe your discipline is that you want to spend more time in prayer or reading the scriptures. So maybe the visible way to remind yourself of that would be to put a page of scripture or put a page of prayer requests somewhere that you're going to see it constantly. Maybe on the bathroom mirror at home, maybe on the side of the monitor of your computer at work. I don't know, but to have that visible cue is such a useful thing for us. I mean, we are visual creatures, we human beings, and those visible cues can really do a lot of work for us in reshaping and reorienting our patterns. You know, it's hard whenever we decide to do something new, but when we can see reminders, constant reminders of what we've decided, it becomes a little bit easier. Here's another way that you can make that easier. Another way to make your discipline visible. And this isn't literally visible, but talk to someone else about what you're doing, what change you're making. You might think about this as an accountability partner, but somebody who knows what it is you're trying to do in this season differently. And knowing just that someone else is aware of what changes you're making can help you remember that you've chosen that and why. Visibility is one of the keys to our spiritual disciplines. So I hope you'll think about whatever new discipline you might be undertaking and how you can make that more visible for yourself. Saints, that's your devotional this week. Hope it's helpful and worth thinking about. I hope you're doing well and staying healthy, and I will be praying for you. Please keep praying for me. I'll see you again soon. Take care, Saints.